there are people that would hold, let's say, oil or gold or Thai baht in their investment portfolio just as a way of kind of preserving value. So there is certainly that value preservation case, or just having some sort of thing that holds its value. But I think beyond that, you've seen a couple things happen. I think that staking and this kind of yield farming business is sort of showing returns on these platforms. So, and in fact, staking, I think, is moving more towards the fixed income like assets of, you're supporting the platform, and by staking, but when you're staking there, you're kind of voting for reliable operators in the platform and you're getting rewarded for it. But more than that, I think that it's kind of like investing in a road. Even though the road is never going to be a toll road, it enables economic activity. So you're kind of placing a leap of faith on the fact that we're going to open this road between two cities, and then suddenly we can start trading between two cities. And the value that you're creating is going to really be quite large because you're able to enable trade in a way that hasn't before. And I think this is also really important on why I'd say coins and coin projects also need a bit of a mission. What are they trying to accomplish with social good? And one of those is, I think looking at economic inclusion and activity, it's something that people may support. And there's going to be a lot of money because, if you're investing in people that personally they need money, they could generate a lot of value and innovation, it's going to be over these platforms. So I'd see it as kind of investing in that infrastructure. And then there is also kind of the value. I think this comes back to sort of being a lemons market still. Most cryptos are going to be very underpriced because there's just a lot of dodgy ones out there that it's hard to tell good ones from bad ones. And so the people that are doing the due diligence about platforms that have good technologies, that have good missions, good views on potential applications, those are going to be undervalued and see some appreciation just in straight value. I think that's something that's very clear, is that nobody can tell what is good or bad value. And so there's going to be some capital appreciation. And then there's going to be, I'd say, things like staking or yield farming, much like investing in currency, so that you hold dollars, but you can invest them and get a return on it. And cryptos are going to be very similar, that people want to use them, will pay you a return for borrowing them, and a store of value, to separate it out. So those are all things. But I think the biggest thing is probably that kind of build a road approach. We need a bunch of money to build this economic system that people can use, and that's going to benefit everybody. And I think that people have to start thinking bigger. Those are not people that are going to look to, how do I maximize return right now? It's going to be people taking a long-term view of something it's going to be great for everyone when we get it to happen.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes when I think about portfolio, the platforms like Cardano, infrastructure comes to my mind definitely. And somebody who's invested in infrastructure, I can see the telltale signs of those kind of projects present in Cardano. The thing that comes also to my mind is that, what if SMTP was tokenized, right? SMTP is the protocol that we use in order to send email. What if every time you send an email, you sent a tiny fraction of something of value to a treasury or something like that? And I think thinking in those terms actually helps, because imagine the amount of wealth that would be amassed on the protocol level to SMTP or SMTP coin, let's call it that way, or HTTP coin. And you don't even have to have a very expensive sort of transaction cost in that regard. You could just have it a fraction of a cent. But the fact that it's utilized all over the world as a single standard, and people use it because it facilitates anything from sending an email to downloading a movie or doing a transaction with your bank. You could see how this value proposition as an infrastructure could create enormous value. And I see Cardano's value as value proposition as that. Yes, you do not have cash flows, beyond staking, But in and of itself, the coins like this in Cardano, they can't be siloed or pigeonholed into one or another financial instrument. As you said, it behaves like a bond in a sense when you buy it, because there's cash flows coming in, but that's not its main value proposition, because the cash flows are there in order to sustain the network, to create some economic incentive for stake pool operators to sustain the network, to run it. But eventually they would be minuscule. They would be there, but at some point you will see the uptick in demand replacing the value generation sort of narrative there. And you could have very little in terms of actual absolute number of coins coming into your staking address, for instance, because it will be mostly driven by transactions. But in terms of value, they would have a lot of value. As the economic activity grows in the system, that it would hopefully drive the price of ADA up, and thereby increasing sort of a high value your returns beyond what you could actually earn by just staking.